What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. I'm once again joined by Tyler, and in this video, we are going to talk about how the Emperor's plan makes no sense or is absolutely awful in Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Now, there are going to be a lot of spoilers, especially, obviously, in this video. We're going to preface each video by telling you guys the spoilers, that there's going to be some in it. We're not going to spoil every single video, and we're also not going to just bag on the movie, but we do want to give a lot of, focus in on a lot of the mistakes that we felt this movie made. So I'm going to go first, then I'm going to hand over to Tyler to talk about how he feels. It's going to be like a joint video. But here's what I'll say about the Emperor's plan. The Emperor in general made zero sense in this entire movie. I get the callback. I get the whole, the dark side of the Force is a unnatural thing. It leads its way to unnatural abilities. I understand that. I understand that that's kind of calling back that, I guess you're never truly dead and, you can always work yourself back, up from death. I get that. At the same time, saying the dead speak as the first word in the opening crawl to introduce that, hey, the big bad, all of a sudden he's just back in episode 9. Don't worry about 7 or 8. Don't worry about Snoke. He just created Snoke, right? No biggie. He's always just been around, even though clearly he hasn't been. It felt and this is the ultimate problem I have with just him returning before I get into his plan. It just felt shoehorned in there, like they just needed it. They needed to have the Emperor return somehow. So they're like, well, how are we going to do it? And then they settled on, well, we're just going to do it. Let's not explain it. Let's not talk about it. And he's not going to talk about it either. Let's just say he's just always been there because it sounds like a dark sidey thing that someone would say. And so that really started just the whole problem, that it made zero sense that he was even back in this movie in the first place. And then his overall plan, you go through the whole movie and it really renders the entire movie honestly pointless. The entire movie in itself, and how it really, I think, not just smears episode 8, but also 7, which we're going to have videos on in the future as well. The plan for him was to get Rey to kill him. That was it. I guess you could also say, to give it a little bit more credit, she needed to kill him using aggression, right? Because she needed to give in to the dark side of the Force and kill him with that kind of anger. And then if she does that, all of the Sith inside of him would end up inhabiting her, and also he would inhabit her. She would be the Empress. She would rule, all of the galaxy and all of that, all the villainy stuff. But it didn't exactly, and also he didn't really even give it a chance. The plan was stupid in the first place. Oh, she's gonna come. He even sent Kylo to attack her and to kill her. He says it multiple times, you need to kill her, right? We're not going to let her, get any further. But then the plan all along was oh no, she's actually one of me. She's a Palpatine, which that's an issue for an entirely different video, which we are going to talk heavily about. That made no sense. That didn't work, in my opinion, and there was a lot of things wrong with that. But, the original plan is just, we need to take her out. But then immediately when she doesn't do it, when she's like, nah, I'm good, I'm not going to kill you with anger, I'm actually not going to kill you at all, he just backtracks 180 to it, and he's like, well, you know what, you two actually have such a strong bond, and something like this has never really happened before, where you can actually give me life, so now I'm just going to fully restore myself using both of you. He really, it's not even necessarily, to me, a problem with his plan in all. That wasn't, everything around the Emperor felt very just weird. Why was he there? It felt very out of place. It felt very, again, shoehorned. It felt very forced in there. Him switching plans on the fly. Him not really having a goal. I wasn't really sure what kind of, what he actually wanted to accomplish long term in the entire thing. And then him switching the plan, halfway through. And again, Rey just didn't do it once. He gave Luke multiple chances. He really wanted Luke to take his side. He really wanted Luke to be the one instead of Vader. And you kind of knew that. And it really built towards that. And again, he gave Luke multiple tries. With Rey, it was just nah, I'm not going to do it. It just really, it rendered the entire movie pointless. She was going there to do it anyway, to take him on, to fight him. And if she killed him, which is the goal, and she ended up killing him, by the way, as long as she doesn't do it with anger, I guess, it doesn't matter. It's fine that she took him out, as long as she didn't do it in a way of rage. So the plan, the overall plot of episode 9, very messy, very convoluted, very jumping all over the place. It didn't have, in my opinion, a very synchronized path from beginning to end. It really, in terms of the plot, and you could say, well, why do you keep mentioning the plot? I honestly think his plan was the plot. The entire movie was based around what he wanted to do and getting to that final confrontation. And so just in general, the plan and plot, in my opinion, they're kind of the same thing, and they definitely reflect each other. So I'm sure there's more to say. I'm sure I'm leaving stuff out. I just got home from watching the movie. Been talking about this with my fiance. Been talking about this with Tyler. I'm sure I'm missing things. I'm going to hand over to Tyler to give his side of things, and then we'll wrap the video up from there.
Hey guys, yeah, I don't really have all that much to say about the Emperor's plan other than, it makes no sense, just like we thought, just kind of like we talked about the other day. The most important thing, though, about his plan is, see, what's funny is, when you're reading things, you're like, okay, he's back, he wants Rey to basically take over for him, and yada, yada, yada. All right, that sounds fine. But then when you watch the movie, and then when you realize that he has, thousands of followers in, the stands, almost like it's an arena, almost like it was episode 3, if you remember that scene when he kind of, becomes the Emperor, and he comes up on the, in that stage, in a way, in the Senate arena, and he puts out his hands, and everybody starts cheering. It was that, again. But what's funny is no one even knew that he was still alive for how many years? I mean, between episodes 6 and 7 was 30 years. So they were on this planet, which, by the way, has electricity constantly coming down. So it's not a very safe place. And so they're all they're just in this planet, in this, almost bunker, and all of these hooded followers are just there waiting. He has this Sith fleet, all brand new, pristine, everything clean. He's got his Sith fleet. They're all with basically the, I don't remember the name, it's slipping my mind right now, but the weapon from the first, I think it was Starkiller Base, basically the technology in Starkiller Base that could destroy a planet, but it literally had to use a planet's core to power it. They were able to downsize that into a cannon that was able to, they were able to put that on every one of these Star Destroyers. So he had hundreds of these ships that were just literally in the ground with stormtroopers, Final Order Sith troopers, generals, commanders, all in pristine, new equipment. And it's like, first of all, the Emperor was dead. Apparently these people all knew it, but they couldn't exist elsewhere because they were underground. Well, that doesn't even make any sense. How did they build the stuff? Where did they get the equipment? None of it makes any sense at all. And it's just what? So wait a minute. And then obviously again, we learn that he created Snoke. We see the Snoke clones, and I'm fine with that. I'm actually really behind that one. I like that a lot. Because I did believe that Snoke, I thought he was Darth Plagueis, when The Last Jedi happened, but I can totally get behind that Snoke was basically a creation. He was just another manipulation by the Emperor. I actually like that a lot. I like that they introduced the cloning, because then you can say, well, maybe he's a clone. In fact, one of the Resistance fighters kind of mentioned that. That was kind of a call to the Expanded Universe books from years past. But anyway, I was fine with that, but it's just you have all this technology. You had the technology, and the reason I brought up Snoke, by the way, is he was the one for the First Order. The First Order was Snoke's, right? Which we find out was actually the Emperor's, because Snoke was controlled by and created by the Emperor. So they had Starkiller Base not that many years ago, and all this time they were actually able to retrofit it into a cannon-sized thing that could be on any ship. Then why did they go through the whole Starkiller Base thing? Do you see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like that alone, and this is almost a separate video that we'll be having, ruins Episode 7, really, and it does. But just, looking at the Emperor's plan, his plan is to have this entire fleet, the Final Order. He's got all of these troops, hundreds and hundreds, of ships. He's got all of these followers. He's got all this technology, all on this one planet on the outer rim, right? And they're all just there. They're all just waiting. And his plan for his final order to basically, if you're not going to go along with the Empire, the new Empire, this final order, we're just going to blow up your planet. Fine, right? But to top it off, he actually doesn't want to be the one who's in charge. He just wants Rey to just kill him. Literally, and he's like, and now she'll take her lightsaber and she'll strike me down. So he wants Rey to kill her so then his soul, and by the way, you already know that it's his granddaughter. So Grandpa wants to be inside of his granddaughter. And so let that sink in. But so by Rey killing the Emperor, he, who has all the Sith inside of him, that's a new one, will then flow into him, and he will then live through her. She'll be the new Empress, and it will be now all of this stuff that he set up. What a nice grandfather. All of the... He's like, here, you have my army. Look at the fleet. Isn't it beautiful? Look at all these... Look at all the fleet and all the troops, and look at what I've done for you, and now you get to kill me so that you can have it. And that's his plan. But then it doesn't obviously go his way, and then it just kind of, he's like, you know what, screw it, I'm just going to kill you, and I'll just do it myself. Well, you could have just went that route in the first place. But makes no sense. I just don't understand. Oh, and then, let me just throw this one in there, too. In the Star Destroyer that, was destroyed, where we thought he was originally killed by Darth Vader in Return of the Jedi, turns out that there was actually a hidden room in the Emperor's throne room that had a device that would lead you to where the Emperor would later be, because he actually wasn't dead. Let me say that again. Before the Emperor was killed in Return of the Jedi, where he thought that he'd be able to turn Luke, because he didn't really need Vader anymore, he wanted to turn Luke, have Luke at his side, basically be his replacement. When that fell through, obviously, and Vader killed him, but before that, he had a room to his right that would have a device in there that would tell him or tell anybody that has access to that room where he would be post his death in the future. It's almost like he put it there for Rey, who wasn't even conceived yet, like by many, many years. That's another one that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. None of it makes... It's almost like he planned all these things out so many years in advance. But that's when you really start to question is, how long has that fleet and all these people been down there? What have they been doing? The whole thing, it's just so bizarre. And then for him to die as easily as he did, it's just, you almost can't even comprehend it. What a terrible plan. He literally thought that he'd be able to just get Rey to take his throne and become evil because he can tell her that she is, and just because it's his What? The Emperor, was he cool in the movie? I think he was really cool. Was his plan cool? His plan sucked. It was very bad. None of it made any sense whatsoever.
So guys, let us know in the comments below, what do you think? What do you think of the Emperor's plan in general? Does it even make sense to you? Is it a solid idea? How do you think the movie executed that? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel podcast. Now hit that bell icon, because we got loads of Star Wars content coming. Tyler and I have listed off many videos that we want to do for you guys. So videos every single day talking about Star Wars. A lot of spoiler stuff, but also not all negative stuff either. There is going to be some videos talking about the good of this movie, okay? So thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you on tomorrow's video.